Really extra specially happy to have you here, Erin. I've known you for, 15, 20 years. You've inspired me to share more integrative medicine and how yoga and meditation and prayer and a positive attitude can change our lives. So we're here to talk about your practices and ideas to reduce stress, increasing blood flow to all organs of our body, and bringing a true balance to all of us. So welcome, Erin. Tell us a little bit about yourself and share some thoughts and ideas, please.
Yeah, so thank you. My name is Erin McCollough. I'm the founder of Fertile Hope Yoga, which was an extension and a creative project that came about from all of our work together, Dr. Kiltz. And for those of you who don't know, like Dr. Kiltz said, I met Dr. Kiltz, like 15 years ago. And at the time, I will never forget this. You said to me in one of our first meetings, do you know why some of my clients are not getting pregnant? And I said, well, tell me more. And he said, something needs to be done. They give up because the financial, mental, emotional, spiritual toll in this process can feel so great that it's a critical piece to take care of that for each other and for your patients. And you recognize that, but not only did you recognize it, you did something about it. And you in a time where nobody else in fertility medicine was doing this, you took a leap of faith and were willing to take a risk and do something totally out of the box. And you chose to create this integrative model for your patients because you knew that there's a piece in this that is so critically important that is not part of traditional Western medicine, but you knew how important it was. And that's where I came onto the scene. I've specialized in women's health with regards to yoga for 20 years. I'm a massage therapist. I'm a Reiki person. I'm a Arvigo therapist. I'm more recently got a coaching degree and a hypnotherapy. So I just keep learning. You and I both love learning. And
that's the key to life.
Yeah. And I am here today. Fertile Hope is here today. Fertile Hope Yoga, helping families all over the world because it's an internet-based service and product. And what we do is because of the risk that you took to allow me to offer this within CNY Fertility. So my gratitude, it's gratitude month over at Fertile Hope Yoga, and I am just so grateful for you.
It was really, we opened up the Rochester office, which was a 100-year-old house, and Dr. Cherkatsky's wife was selling it. He was an amazing doctor who helped people through their terrible diseases, and the space that we rebuilt and recreated, and we took the living room kitchen of one room and made it a yoga studio, and so many other spaces that really brought vibratory energy. And between your yoga and Heather's acupuncture, your massage too, by the way, and Heather Smith, I must give some accolades to, because she's the one that inspired me to look at acupuncture, and you inspired me to look at yoga and massage. And at the same time, I was looking at the secret and the idea how the mind is really the master of everything about us. And
so important. What we have in our mind is what our body is capable of. Period.
And tell me about your yoga experience and how you work in those with your clients in sharing your energy and ideas that help inspire them to keep moving forward and not give up.
Yeah. So what I learned through my work within CNY Fertility, I call it, looking back, what I realize now is it was an opportunity to try things, right? And experience and being in it with people is the most valuable thing we can do here. And so what I learned is that so first of all, for those of you who don't know, we have such a westernized view of yoga. We think yoga is like twisting ourselves and moving in a certain way and more of like an athletic process, because that's what is in our gyms and that's what's in we see that in a lot of our regular the advertisements and all kinds of, it's westernized. But yoga in its essence is a truly holistic practice. And by that, I mean that the movement piece or asana is just one facet of a yoga practice. We have breathing. We have what are called the yamas and niyamas, which are what is our internal world like, right? Like, are we practicing forgiveness? Are we showing ourselves compassion and grace? And then how are we walking through the world and interacting with others, right? Which is so much about our mindset and how we are approaching any life's challenge and the gifts and overcome. And so what I realized is, first of all, within that framework, I was able to create a program that is specifically targeted to the mental, emotional, physical needs that come up in any kind of cycle. So we practice no matter if you're on a break or you're trying to conceive actively with any type of method, you can actually take the yoga poses and customize a practice to meet you where you're at safely. So if you're incorporating more advanced techniques, like with you, frozen embryo transfer, IVF, we can actually adapt a yoga practice, the movement piece, so it's safe. And then we take the community, holistic yoga, the community is so vital, because without reflection, without a mirror, without somebody witnessing, we're just alone. And it's how we learn and grow and adapt and celebrate when we're in community. So we do this within a container, if you will.
And the beauty is, it's not just in a little room anymore, it's expanded to everywhere. And really the shift and change, certainly through COVID, but it's happened well before that, is how we can touch people around the globe. And so many of us are suffering internally and alone. We think we are the only one. And to be able to share words and someone to listen to our story, because ultimately our fear, our reptile comes out first, and we don't feel the love in this.
Yeah, we have fear and we have love, and the thing is, like, we can choose. And this is what so much of yoga is about, is cultivating awareness for, first of all, being willing to show up in any given moment with whatever's there. And sometimes moving or breathing helps us access that, right? It helps to kind of take away some of the layers. And then when we get there, we can kind of look around and say, okay, what inside me, which is our beliefs, our thoughts, is actually fueling where I want to go? What part of that is taking away? And then gives us access to choice. And in choice, to make a different story, to choose a different story, to choose some different thoughts. And in that, then we have the opportunity to touch freedom. And we all want, the times where we feel the most isolated, alone, heavy, devastated are when we unintentionally feel like we're like in a little box. And
so in fact, it's our little brain can't see the big brain, because ultimately the brain is not just in our head, it's an electromolecular magnetic signaling device that sends out signals and receives signals.
Yeah.
And so when we begin to tap into that energy, which is what yoga is all about, and maybe you could share a little bit about breathing and how the simple things that you teach in your yoga practice has helped you, and maybe a story on someone that it's helped also.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much science to this now too. We know, and if anyone is not aware of Dr. Ali Domar's work, she is a Harvard researcher specializing in mind-body medicine with regards to women specifically. Her work is targeted in fertility treatment. And what we know is that over 60% of women are suffering through anxiety or depression. And what we know with those experiences is through studies that it decreases our pregnancy outcomes. And we know
epinephrine go up in our stress, right? Is it?
Yeah. When we are tight, when we are overwhelmed, when we're not processing our emotions, like hygiene, like we brush our teeth, right? We need to work it out, whatever we're feeling. It's okay. It's okay to have those feelings. Sometimes it doesn't feel safe to have those feelings unless you're surrounded in a community. And when we do that, we collectively, in our breathing, through our yoga, through our breathing, through our voice, through communicating, all these practices, we reduce our heart rate, our blood pressure goes down, our stress hormones go down, our brain waves shift, our stress hormones shift, and now we're not depleting our reproductive hormones. And now we have access to all the things that we want, like calm, peace, our ability to feel clear on our next steps. This is the system to get to that place. And
we're talking with Erin McCollough. Sorry to interrupt, Erin. And just wanted, how can people find Erin and Fertile Hope Yoga?
Well, first of all, you can go to cnyfertility.com. We are a sister to or brother, whatever. We're a sibling to CNY Fertility. So it's all over for CNY Fertility. Totally. And you can go to fertilehopeyoga.com. And in both places, wherever you go, just know that I have so many free resources for you all. So if this interests you, or you're feeling like you want to navigate in a different way, or you feel like want at a place where you're ready to give up, or you feel like you've had an emotional breakdown, which I like to think of as a purging. It's actually an awakening. There's so many free resources that you can get started with too. And just as my gift to the world.
The emotions are actually part of who and what we are. And we want to sort of, like, people say, oh, you're too emotional and maybe we need to get rid of it. But can you talk a little bit how we can access and use those emotions in our benefit?
Yeah. So our emotions are fuel. They're fuel. They are like stoking our inner fire, and fire is transformation. So it's guiding, they're directing. We're scared of them though. We're scared to feel. And I really believe that we're not taught in most of our families and how we're brought up. We're not taught in a way how to express ourselves in a way that's, because it's going to come out, right? These things are going to come out. They could come out sideways. They can come out, and so, but if we're intentionally utilizing practices and showing up, then we can use them to direct and cultivate, this season in families' lives, right? they're moving into a place where they want to grow or start their families. It's what it really is, and you use this word a lot, like fertile ground. It truly is. It's like you're walking into this, you open this door, and there are so many opportunities and gifts to really embrace and learn about who you are and what that means and who you want to be for your children. And that takes sometimes some healing, and it takes some being willing to step out of your comfort zone. And it definitely takes your cultivating resilience to be able to sit with hard things sometimes.
Sitting with hard things, I think that's where yoga comes in, because it gives you the time to sit with them. And you said earlier that yoga is meant to be connecting the mind and the body. It's not meant to be a workout.
No.
But in our modern world, we've created yoga as a workout, a strengthening, looking better. But in fact, it's about how to get back into contact with the inner self.
Our inner self. And then once we connect in, then we can connect to something that's broader than us, like the universe, whatever your belief system is, right? Like God, universe, call it whatever you want, the magic, right? But
Yeah.
so many times in this like when we're struggling in fertility, right? And especially when it's prolonged, we lose that connection to ourselves. We intentionally disconnect. Maybe like you're like blaming yourself or feeling guilty, or, and that doesn't feel good. So we disconnect from our bodies. But when we disconnect from our bodies, we're disconnecting from source. And in that is, no matter what or how you've chosen to work to get pregnant, there's a piece of this. And maybe Dr. Kiltz, maybe you know how much of a piece of this, but I call it the magic. We have to show up and make a choice in what we're going to do. Like, it takes action to get pregnant, right? But then beyond that, there's a piece of this that is what I call the magic. And we need to stay connected to that piece so that we can trust, so that we can have that part of surrender and letting go that allows us access to that. And if any of us had the magic formula, this would, that didn't include that piece, this would be a whole different conversation. We'd be in a totally different business. It just doesn't exist.
How old is the practice of yoga?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know.
Hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Oh,
correct?
Yeah.
Do we really need a scientific paper to tell us it works or doesn't work?
No.
Faith. And so this is where communion and coming together with people like yourself and others that share the foundation of yoga. Yeah. And the breath, right?
And reminding each other when we stray, because some days are, I want to swear, hard, right? And in those moments, when you're surrounded by others who can carry you when it's too hard to do the work yourself, there's nothing more powerful. We need that connection to source, to, especially for anyone and everyone's grieving, right? But in that loss, there's something here. There's something bigger, and we need to trust that for ourselves and our path and our opening and our lives. We all have a purpose here, and our lives are unfolding beautifully. That's why I'm here today. Not because my life's been easy.
So I would say hard is what we're here for, because anyone can do easy and sit and watch TV all day long.
Yeah.
But you got to do something hard to make you happy.
Yeah.
And when you're struggling and stressed, this is where things like yoga come together, and prayer and meditation, go for a walk in nature and do these things, connect with others that are experiencing the same problems. We've been a little manipulated by the mass marketing of the modern world that's focused on money and not, I always say, not making mommies and daddies. And affordability and access is really something that we've come together with, and sharing what you share. There's so much people can gain for free. Yeah. Jake first came out with 5,000 to 6,000 years yoga. Yeah, it's all been around, and probably practices about mindfulness for thousands and thousands of years of humanity. And what type of simple practices can you give someone right now that is struggling with this fertility process?
Yeah.
What can they do right now? Can you help us?
Right now, in this moment, if you're struggling, instead of asking yourself, why is this happening to me? Switch the question and ask yourself, what am I grateful for in this moment? What is the gift? Where is the gift here? There's always a gift. Get curious, switch your mind to an empowered state where you can, just by switching that question, you've already, in this moment, choose to switch your question, and then you've postured yourself from being in this box to navigating, to pointing your true north to open seas, to being open to something that you maybe even better than you could have ever imagined. That's it. That's how quickly these shifts can take place. And the key is to practice those, right? To as soon as our brain, because our brain, the way it works is our subconscious brain is going to keep, it's like, oh, this is a new idea. That feels unsafe. I'm not going to go along with that. So it's practice. It's constant visiting until our brain decides, okay, this is safe. This is safe to, and actually, it's not just safe, it's actually bringing me closer to what I actually want instead of farther away.
So fear often shows up fast. And the reptile bites first, asks questions later. And so how do we bring the breathing moment and the stepping back and to imagine that all of this is actually good and great, and I'm grateful and happy to be here and having all this stress and struggle that is part of the mixing and the making of the miracles of mommies and daddies and babies and families and all these things.
Yeah. And this is the power of the breath. We have our breath wherever we go. We can put your hand here and we can breathe. And every breath is like a cycle of release and opening, and release and opening. And every time we take a breath, we can choose to tap into that. And we can access everything we need, which is inside of us. Every breath. And we have that wherever we go.
It's infinite. And yoga shares the infinite nature of all of that. Tell us a little bit about the meditative process in yoga. And how, because my brain is always worried about this and that and all that. And no matter what I do to come over here to be like, wow, I got to breathe. Like the yickety yak just shows up.
Yeah.
And then you're sharing, talking, but I'm thinking about yesterday, tomorrow, next week, or last year, whatever.
Yeah. Running all the different scenarios of fears, right? Like of what we don't want to happen, but we feel like somehow running those through our brain is actually going to be helpful. Our brain, what if everyone knew that the job of meditation, our job wasn't to turn that off, because our brains are going to do what they want to do, and they're gonna keep going. Our job in meditation is to switch our focus. So instead of focusing on any one thought, or I call it taking a trip, like instead of like hanging on to a thought and doing the exhausting work of like taking a trip around the world with that thought, what if you could just say, oh, I acknowledge that thought's there. It doesn't mean, and simply observe it. You don't have to go anywhere with it. It's inviting you. It looks really exciting to go on that trip with it, but you can just actually leave it there and say thank you and come back into your body. And in this moment, breathe. And then another thought comes, and then you notice it, and you can say thank you. And you don't, it's finding a way to take a stance of being in observation rather than in being with your thoughts. We do not have to be our thoughts. We can actually like project it. Think about like projecting them on a screen, on a movie, right? We can watch them. We don't have to be them. And that's where we find our power. That's where that we find choice. Really powerful.
So yes, that concept that thoughts are all we are, yet we are not our thoughts, is part of the yin and the yang of this whole story.
But then we can choose. Then we get to choose, like a garden, right? Like, oh, okay, I'm watching these thoughts. Which one is actually helpful for me?
You mentioned the redirection, right?
Yeah, like which one am I gonna, like planting weeds? Like I like talking about our brain like a garden, right? Like which ones are rooted in there? Which stories, which beliefs, which thoughts are actually weeds, if you will. You know, like we have a choice. We can take those out and plant something new. It's hard, it's difficult, it's work. And in my program, I have a process where we actually step by step identify what those things are, take you through how to take you through how to break them down, unplant it, take it out, and then build something new.
So we're learning new habits. Maybe you could tell us about Bloom Yoga Therapy.
So this is something new that I created because calling what I do only yoga, would you agree, is not really all that accurate. In some ways it is, right? Because we do practice this holistic version of yoga that we've talked about. But what I've realized on top of that is that what I teach, and it has a very specific methodology that's beyond just the yoga. So I call it the Bloom Yoga Therapy Method. The B is for be in your body. When somebody comes into this container that is Fertil Hope Yoga, the first step, I don't care where they're at mentally, emotionally, physically, is to get in their bodies. And we use the movement practices to do that because it's easy. It's easy to feel, right? It's easy to get into our bodies when we're moving. Like we literally have to be in our bodies to move. And then the L is about leveraging community, right? So it's about how can we be in community and allowing then the community to serve us, to guide us, to allow us that reflection, that witnessing. There's nothing more powerful than being in that community of people who get it, who can help you heal and grow. And you get to watch others doing the same. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, this is what's possible for me. Then the next part is optimizing your mind. And this is where we do the gardening, right? Like what's actually in there that's helping us, what's actually in there that's that's not helpful? And how does that manifest in our day-to-day lives? There's so much in fertility where we think like we have to do this way. This is how we have to do it. Do you? Who said? Like maybe let's look at that. And then the next parts are about opening and manifesting miracles, which truly, if we stay in those first three things, stay in the community, be in our bodies, work on the mind stuff, everything is possible. And that's where we start feeling better. We start like blooming, if you will, like everything becomes easier. It doesn't mean this hard things aren't still going to come, but we now we feel our strength. Now we feel ease. Now we know that no matter happens, we're going to be okay. Just that knowing, leaning into faith, trusting, all those things become available. So that's kind of why I created this method, because I didn't know what else to do. I felt like I had to like create a name for what this work, because it's really not just yoga.
Part of your coaching,
Yeah.
part of what you're doing. Do you do one-on-one coaching, group coaching?
Right now I have group coaching. So in my community, I show up 4 times a week. I call them like healing circles, group coaching circles, where, collectively we're able to work together. Every single person who comes into the circle, there's a couple different rules, not many, but there's a couple rules. One is that nothing leaves the circle. Whatever's shared in the circle stays in the circle. Number 2 is that you're showing up for yourself and we're showing up for you. And then you're showing up for everyone else. So every single person gets a turn. Every single person gets to feel everyone invested in what's going on and in their healing and growth and process. And what comes of that is just really beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. And you've been part of our circles, Dr. Kiltz, when we had them in person, and you loved them. You loved it. You loved our circles.
I would love to join, even again, because we're all sharing thoughts and ideas, and all of us, all humans, this idea to remove the labels and see God in each and every person.
Yeah.
And when we can honor the gods in everyone and the beauty of everyone. And the only label we need to be thinking about is the God in you, is the God in me. And I think that's what yoga taught me. And to slow it down and to change what we're thinking about the thing, redirecting the damaged thought to a dream of divinity thinking. Because it's all a divine purpose we're living. Because even in the ramshackled challenges of our day, where we think it's all falling apart, that too is a divine practice of the pieces of the puzzle or the stepping stones that ultimately build the thing that we dream about.
Yeah.
But we are a herd, small group based. We're not mass herds, we're small family-based groups, because we are all a family. And that's what I think we've worked to create at CNY Fertility. Because ultimately, the acupuncture, the massage, the yoga, and all our outcroppings of what we brought to CNY Fertility and learned from you and Erin and Allie and Randine and so many amazing people, both Eastern and Western practitioners, because we're really about integrating these things. And so one of the things that maybe isn't highlighted in our day-to-day Western world is really the Western world came out of Eastern philosophy. It really did. When you think about herbal medicine, the medicine, the the tribal medical chief, whether it's a male or female or trans or whatever that person is, we're really learning something so different, but we're working to share it in a way that people could tap into Fertile Hope Yoga online, fertilehopeyoga.com.
Yep, Fertile Hope Yoga. It's, to me, when you're in the thick of it, like when somebody's working with you and they're in the thick of it, right? Support, it's a team approach. Support is not optional, in my opinion. If you are in, like, really in the thick of it, I just don't see, like, mentally, emotionally, like, we're humans. We need support. And I just, it's so, like, what becomes possible for people is so important. I've had women, so you were asked about stories earlier, you know, I've had women, you know, I'm just trying to think of a couple of clients right now. One woman had 9 miscarriages. There's no way she could have kept going if she didn't have the support of the community and the coping skills. I mean, that's a lot of what yoga is. It's a lot of coping resources and skills. And she literally says, like, I would not have my second, she's working on her second son if it weren't for adding this piece to her IVF. Or just, I mean, there's so many stories. It's hard for me to, I mean, thousands of stories, you know. You guys have access to all of them too. If you want to read stories specifically, I have a 2-week free trial. You can come and read all the stories. Oh, Cindy says, very blessed to be in this community. Yeah, Cindy.
Yes, and Kimberly Kalesi says, you know, thank you. And right, Cindy and Melissa and Sarah and Liz, and there's so many people. It's a community.
Yeah.
And it's a community of 2.
Yeah. And I see some more Fertile Hope Yoga members. Ashley is in there too. It just is amazing. And you know, there's a piece of this too that I wish, like we mentioned Dr. Ali Domar's work, who, you know, she showed when you incorporate mind-body medicine into your IVF, like she did a study about this, your chances of pregnancy, the women who were actually included, the mind-body work, were 175% increased pregnancy rates by 175%. That's 3 times as likely to get pregnant when you're incorporating this with the IVF. That's like crazy. Like, if you guys don't recognize that as like one of the best ways to increase your chances, and not only that, but like feel better while you're doing it. Like, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Well, it's 15 plus 20 years ago almost. I listened to The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And really, the challenge I had with modern science is they're always trying to prove something.
I know.
We don't need science in the proof. It's actually already been in our ancient thousands of years of existence of bringing mindfulness through meditation and prayer and faith in the thing you desire as if it is. That's what this story is really all about. And yoga and Fertile Hope Yoga is, we have to have hope and prayer to visualize the thing we desire. Too often in science and Western medicine, we call, you know, what are you trying to do with hope and a prayer? But yes, hope and prayer is our foundation of what yoga and meditation and ancient medicine is really about. Yeah. We didn't have pills or dissections or costly things. Even to me, all the data, I call a lot of it doo-doo.
I know you do.
And so much of what Fertile Hope Yoga. So, you know, I learned about through our connections in Rochester how we can incorporate it. You introduced me to Catherine Flynn, who helped write the Fertile Secret book. So did Lisa Stack. we're all doing this together. This isn't like them and us and you and me. It's
we're creating something.
right. And the same thing with Allie and all of even it's all together formulating a way that what we're talking about through yoga and this yoga practice is it doesn't take a pill, a surgery, a dissection, or an expensive anything. Because actually, the whole idea of Fertile Hope Yoga is that you got it right there.
We have so much. We have so much.
So Sarah, although I haven't been able to attend the Fertile Hope Yoga group, I have to say CNY has seriously been such an amazing help and world of information. Yeah. Amazing people. Faith in God has kept her going. And so really, I always say faith in God keeps us all going. And when facts and science trump faith and spirit, we're in the wrong universe.
Yeah.
Really, the whole part of the practice of yoga is about the connection with God. I think that's a really important thing.
Ultimately, we how do we connect my yoga teacher, one of my yoga teachers. So I'm like, my grandfather of teachers is directly from India. And he was one of the first yoga teachers to bring yoga, Mr. Iyengar, to the Western world. So my teacher, and I've actually studied with him directly too. He's now passed. But he would say, and that my yoga practice is his prayers. That's it.
And so gratitude, you mentioned that, I think first, it's the gratefulness for all of this experience, all of this wonder, even of the pain in the process. When we can see the beauty of what is, Byron Katie, is that really true? And to see the beauty in miracles, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, I mean, just infinite, Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics and so many more have really brought. And the yoga, since I think we need, I know for me, I need to either get into my pottery painting studio, I need to be building something, or I get onto my bike a little bit. And this is where yoga is an action of the body that we can formulate it along with the meditation and the direction of the mind. Yeah. So it's connecting the two. Because again, you can use prayer, you can use action, but bringing those two together, I think, is what Fertile Hope Yoga has done.
Yeah.
And again, this is beyond CNY fertility. It's a global sharing. Because so much of our intention is if we have something that you can bring to whoever, yourself, wherever you are in this journey, whatever fertility space you're in.
Yeah. And let me tell you, Dr. Kiltz, since we kind of came back to gratitude, working with families and women through Fertile Hope Yoga, literally all over the world now, like Asia, South America, all over Canada. I mean, it's just wild. And what I knew, but even know more now, is what a gift that you offer to patients, because you are so open and to different ideas and trying different things. And it's just wild to me how many options, which is yoga. And it is, right? Yoga is like options and moving into possibility. And that's what you give to people. That's where the hope is. And I just want to let you know, like, the more I learn, the more I'm all over the world now, immersed in different treatment options and plans and what's available to families, there's still nobody doing what CNY Fertility is doing. And you're such a gift to this world and to everybody who's ever hit a point where they're told no, or, they feel like they can't go on. You also give them hope. So, and this is why we work together. Because
we have to all have hope, and that's the real foundation of life. And having someone to share the love.
Yeah.
Right. Because we have to share love. And that's so critical and important for all of us, because quite often in the world, it seems like love is lost. But it's not it begins with each of us individually. Yeah. When we can begin to love what we hate and love the place we're in, the challenges we're living, oh my God, the magical miracles of the universe show up.
Yeah.
And a great book is The Three Magic Words. If you are, I always tell you gotta listen to the stories that are everywhere. And I would say that really it's all about individual human stories that inspire all of us. We're going to end in just a few minutes. Do you have any story?
I just hope that anyone listening or will listen or watch in the future if you can take one thing away from our conversation and our being together today, it's that everything and anything is possible. Please, just one step in front of the other. Surround yourself by people who believe in you, by people who want what you want. And you don't have to do this alone. You have so many options. There are so many people who are loving you, whether you realize it or not. And, spread the message, spread this around to people who may need it, who don't have it. And yeah, just keep going. Just please, surround yourself by your treatment team, get support, get with a doctor or a practice who actually believes in you. Oh my gosh, please.
We need to have faith and belief in the people that we're taking care of and love, because modern world of medicine is losing that. There are plenty of practitioners that are bringing it back. That's what we all need to be doing, and sharing that love, because when we love, it'll come around. And I am grateful. And I haven't been out to Rochester in a while, and I don't know where, our physicalness has shifted and changes. But Sarah, Ashley, Cindy, Justine, I've got so many people, Kimberly, Kraus, Health, thank you, Fabi, Beauty. I mean, so many people on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikToks, I don't know, wherever. But ultimately, like, these are just formats for us to all share the energy that we're alive to share together with love.
Yeah. And that's what we're doing here. That's what we've always done well together, Dr. Kiltz. We're sharing the love and sharing the light. And
so we fertilhopeyoga.com.
Yes.
And cnyfertility.com. And I think our new family building guide got some really great stuff that Erin has shared. And we're going to have some tips from Erin and Fertile Hope Yoga regularly on our chats. And so thank you, Erin, for joining me today. Much love to everyone, and always gratitude. Thanks, everyone. God bless.